They said her stew could chase away bad dreams. Men in suits knelt for her jollof. And if she slapped you while serving beans, consider your day already blessed. But long before the crowd, before the shouting, before the whispers of miracles, Mama Bimbo was just another woman left behind until she walked into the grove and came back with water that knew the dead. The wind is lazy this morning, dragging its heels across the dust-stained streets of Igberry Town. Roosters crow as if trying to wake the sky faster, and the early risers already stand in line, some barefoot, some in slippers one cough away from collapsing, all waiting outside a shack with smoke curling through the rusted zinc roof. They don't call her name, not out loud, but they know the scent, they know the sound, the iron pots clanking, the tin spoon dragging through sauce thick as secrets. A boy shifts impatiently, carrying his school bag. His eyes are heavy, but his lips tremble with anticipation. Behind him, a man in a faded tie rolls up his sleeves. "You go wash plate today?" Another man teases. "If no wash, go get me extra ponmo. I go scrub the gutter, join." They chuckle, but not too loud. The shack demands respect. Inside, she stirs. They can hear her voice before they see her. Rough, sharpened like blade edge. Who dey that corner dey yawn like lion way never kill prey? Oh yeah, move, idiot! The crowd presses tighter, eager. No one flinches. There's love in the abuse. Or maybe spell. No one knows when she started cooking like this. Back in the day, she was just one more figure bent over hot coals, selling bean cakes with pepper that burned more than it flavored. Her laugh used to be soft. Her face didn't used to be so tight. There were rumors of betrayal, of a man who left with a woman that wore perfume heavy enough to drown an entire room. After that, her laugh died. She vanished. And when she returned months later, her pots were bigger, her voice harsher, her food otherworldly. The first time people tasted the new stew, silence fell. A woman dropped her child and screamed in tongues. The elders called it blessing in the belly. Since then, no one dared eat breakfast before queuing here. One man lost his job for arriving late 3 times. But he said it was worth it. Because when Mama's food enters you, the world treats you softer. Doors open, traffic clears, money stretches. They never saw her buy ingredients. No one delivered bags of rice or crates of tomatoes. Yet her pot stayed full, always enough. Even those who couldn't pay, she'd slap them first, insult their lineage, then hand them a plate. Women tried to copy her recipes. Some stood by her stall, watching. One woman dared ask for help once. Mama stared at her with eyes like burnt coal and said, "If you no wan lose peekin' inside womb, carry your yay pot come out here." No one asked again. Yet she was loved. Each insult was a rite of passage. Each slap, a baptism. No one saw her cook, though. She always arrived just before dawn, her wrappers thick around her waist, a wooden spoon tucked like a dagger. She'd lock the door, turn on the single flickering bulb, and cook for hours. Some said they heard chants. One boy swore he saw a shadow move across the inside wall, even though no one else was there. Still, they returned, because the food made things better. And in a town where luck was stingy and joy short-lived, who wouldn't chase a plate that fixed your day? The sun finally peeked over the rooftop. She kicked open the door. "En, una wan sleep here?" The line surged forward. Money flew, insults flew faster. Slaps? Just seasoning. But the food? The food smelled like memory, like heartbreak forgiven, like thunder paused. Fried plantain kissed with agony and delight. Jollof rice that tasted like the end of war. Beans so smooth they slid down your throat and hugged your stomach like old friends. And in the middle of it all, she stood, the one they never called by name, Mama Bimbo, the biggest mama in town. But no one knew her truth, not yet. No wind touches the trees in Okuda Grove. Silence has teeth here, not soft, not still, but sharp, as if waiting for sound to stumble so it can bite it into pieces. Even birds avoid the branches. And the sun, so bold outside the grove, dims here, as though shamed by the shadows. She walked barefoot. Her wrapper tore in 2 places. The skin on her elbow was still healing from yesterday's oil splash. She carried nothing, brought nothing, said nothing. That was the instruction. She had heard the whispers, old women that knew how to stretch soup without adding water, girls who sang at funerals and never cried, and a market woman who once cured a madness with nothing but groundnut paste and a chant. They all spoke of them. The Eagle Women, 5 in number, or 6. No one knew for sure. They weren't born. They simply appeared, like smoke curling upward from forgotten history. Mama Bimbo, though no one would have called her that yet, didn't come for friendship. She came because she was tired of being someone that life ignored. There were rules. No one entered Okuda Grove after rain. No one whistled near the edge. And if you heard your own name echo back, you ran. She didn't run. She walked straight in. Bare feet kissed damp soil. Her breath slowed, her ears searched for chance. Nothing, but the trees leaned back, as if watching. She stepped further until she reached the burial hill. There was no graveyard sign. No markers, just mounds and silence. And then she saw them, 5 shapes draped in black, seated in a circle not far from the mound's curve. Their faces were veiled, but she could see their mouths, lips stained with something darker than cola nut, moving without sound. She didn't speak, she knelt, she didn't cry. She waited. They stood. One carried a gourd. It was carved from old Iroko wood, marked with tiny bones tied in thread. Inside, water sloshed, thick, pungent. One of them lifted it high, then lowered it, then poured, onto the ground, onto the mound, onto her hands. It smelled of things unremembered. It clung to her skin like memory. And then came the voice, not from the women, from the soil. It said, "You will cook what others dare not taste. You will feed kings who will not thank you. You will never be hungry and never be clean." She didn't flinch. She licked the water from her palm, and the women scattered into smoke. 3 days later, she returned to her shop. Same walls, some pots, but now they hissed before she touched them. The water she kept, sealed in a gourd beneath her bed, always smelled fresh. When she poured it into rice, the grains never stuck. When she mixed it into stew, the pepper danced harder. The first batch she sold made 3 men cry. She no longer begged, no longer smiled, and never ever let anyone help. Cooking had become a ceremony. The pot, a temple. The food, not just a meal, but an offering. The grove still stands. No one goes there. Some say one night every month. Her pot bubbles louder, and her feet leave no sound as she walks. That she returns with steam trailing behind her like spirits eager for a meal. The Eagle women are never mentioned anymore, except by one old palm wine tapper who said, "Dem no give her blessing. Dem give her condition." But he doesn't talk much now. His tongue twists when he tries. Mama Bimbo cooks alone. The pots never rest, and the water never dries. Before sunrise, the shack burned with scent. Not fire, not smoke, scent. The kind that made young men forget they had wives. The kind that made a reverend sniff 3 times before crossing himself. Even the rat stood still, not out of fear, but worship. The pot was already bubbling. She didn't stir it. Not yet. She wiped her palms with an old scarf, bent low beside the iron cauldron, and whispered something without words. The pot hissed back, a sound that climbed up the zinc roof like a warning to heaven. Outside, the line swelled. There were people who hadn't slept. Men with briefcases, bankers and dispatch riders, tired mothers and dusty wrappers. One woman carried her baby on her back and a cooler on her head. Not to sell, but to beg for leftovers. She wouldn't get any. Mama Bimbo served exactly what the pot allowed. No more, no less. The ladle entered the stew like a blade into flesh. She scooped, poured, scooped again. Beans, rice, panmo, fried fish, all glistened with an oil that shimmered like the skin of river gods. She didn't smile. She threw plates on counters. She insulted a man for coughing too loud. She slapped a girl who asked if there was bread. Still, the crowd grew. People paid twice the cost just to skip 5 places in line. Some knelt, some kissed the ground, all waited. The food was hotter than usual. Not in temperature, in spirit. A young boy took 1 bite of jollof and screamed, "Mama!" But it wasn't his mother he was calling. A woman chewed panmo and fell silent for 21 minutes. Her husband kept shaking her, but her eyes stayed closed, her lips frozen in awe. When she finally spoke, she said, "I saw angels carrying spoons." Another man, one of those uptown types, always wearing cologne and socks that matched his tie, begged to wash all the shop's plates just to earn extra stew. By noon, the crowd had tripled. People from other towns began arriving. One woman rode on Okada for 2 hours just to eat her rice, holding a 5 naira note tight against her chest like prayer. Mama Bimbo didn't care about praise. She spat when people complimented her. She kicked a man who tried to record her on his phone. She warned, "If you dey look me too much, I go blind you with pepper." Yet they returned, again and again. Some left with plates. Some left with something else. a glow in their face, an ease in their bones. Even those suffering from heartbreak said they felt lighter after eating her food. The community began treating her shop like shrine, not out of worship, out of need. On Monday mornings, they came first, believing her food would chase away bad luck. Students before exams, job seekers before interviews, mothers before giving birth, all came to Mama Bimbo. The church complained once, called her food unclean. She told the pastor, "Your communion day bless once a week. My stew day bless every day." He never returned, but 2 of his deacons now eat there regularly. One afternoon, a girl tried to sneak behind the shack, just to peek inside the kitchen. She disappeared for 3 hours. When she came back, she couldn't speak. Her eyes watered constantly. Her mother took her to a prophet who said the girl had tasted the edge of a spirit's tongue. No one ever tried to spy again. Mama Bimbo cooked alone. She never let anyone light her fire, never let anyone wash her pots, never told anyone her recipe. But her food, it told stories. Beans that remembered your name, rice that forgave your sins, stew that shook hands with your ancestors. A year after the first taste, her shack had grown, not in size, in presence. It bent light around it. Even rain stopped at the edge of her stall, choosing not to disturb whatever brewed beneath the roof. People said her pots had eyes. That one time, a thief tried to steal plantain and his hand swelled until he cried blood. Yet no one stopped eating. Because when you eat Mama Bimbo's food, your life bends toward luck. Doors open, hearts soften, enemies forget your name. It was never about taste. It was about transformation. And nobody cooks transformation like Mama Bimbo. No one wore suits in Igbera. Not on weekdays, and certainly not near the market, where the ground begged for sandals, not Italian leather. But one Tuesday morning, they arrived. 3 men. Tall, clean, silent. Their suits dark like fresh gravecloth. They didn't line up. They didn't speak. They stood. And the crowd parted for them like riverbanks pulled apart by sacred hands. Mama Bimbo didn't look up. She was mid-slap. A boy had tried to count meat on someone else's plate. The men didn't flinch. One of them stepped forward, opened a briefcase, placed a brown envelope on the counter, and cleared his throat like thunder behind locked lips. No one dared breathe. The envelope sat between her and the pot, an offering, a challenge, a temptation. She didn't open it. She didn't ask. She stirred. The rice turned golden. The beans clung to the ladle as if asking not to be served. She served 6 plates, none for the men in suits. They waited an hour, then 2, then left. The envelope remained untouched. By Friday, they returned with 2 more men. One wore sunglasses. The other had a bald head that gleamed under the sun like a polished drum. This time, they brought cameras. They didn't film. They placed them on the ground like gifts. They called her Madam. She called them fools. She served a woman who had slept by her stall since 3 a.m., skipping the entire queue of fresh cologne and gentle bribes. The cameras recorded nothing. Still, the suits waited. Until she poured stew into a plate so thick it stained the spoon handle. She handed it to one of them. He sniffed, bit, chewed, swallowed. His eyes widened like temple doors. He bent low, said, "Bless me." She ignored him. She cursed another man for dragging change from his pocket too slow. The sweeted men left again. One wept quietly beside a power bike. In the following weeks, they came in batches. Not just suits now, but robes. Officials, politicians, businessmen. One man came with 2 bodyguards and a bottle of wine. She slapped him for crowding her pot. Another came in a convoy, 8 cars. She threw his plate on the floor. He picked it. Still 8. Every time they arrived, the town transformed. Suddenly, gutters got cleaned. Street lights flickered on. Children received free sandals. They didn't thank the mayor. They thanked the woman behind the pot. Rumors circled like hawks over fresh prey. People said the president ate her food once, disguised in agbada and dark shades. Others claimed foreign ambassadors sent drivers with cooler boxes. Still, she cooked alone, refused interviews, burned business cards. One man offered to franchise her recipes. She poured hot water on his folder and gave him gari without soup. One rainy afternoon, a woman arrived, not in suit, in lace, head wrapped like twisted flame. She didn't speak, didn't eat, just stood behind Mama Bimbo's stall, watching. Mama stirred slower. She cursed less. The crowd grew quiet. Then the woman whispered, "The debt ripens." Mama Bimbo dropped the spoon. The pot hissed, and the fire beneath it died for the first time. The woman didn't return, but the heat lingered, not in the food, but in the air around it. A tension, as if something bigger than hunger had entered the queue. Men in suits still came, but Mama served more quietly now. The food still blessed, still cured, still cracked open fate and poured honey into it. But her eyes, they watched the shadows longer, listened harder to silence. And no one, not even the men in suits, dared ask her what she was waiting for. Because maybe she wasn't cooking just to feed anymore. Maybe she was cooking to pay. The sky had refused to blink that morning. Clouds hung like sleeping giants. The market buzzed, but even the goats seemed cautious, their hooves moving softer than usual. A certain tension danced in the air, weaving through the queue at Mama Bimbo's shack. Not loud, not violent, just watching. She hadn't slept. There were footfalls she didn't recognize the night before, whispers curled beneath her zinc roof. Her pots had hissed twice in silence. Something stirred her stew without touching it. She didn't flinch, but her right eye twitched, and her blade, the one she used to slice meat, bent slightly overnight. They say a woman arrived just after 6 a.m. Nobody saw her walk through the gate. She didn't stand in line. She didn't speak. Her dress was plain, not new, not torn, a deep maroon wrapped tightly around a shape that didn't cast shadow. But her eyes, red, like sunset dragged across raw flesh, not bloodshot, burning. Every face turned when she approached Mama's stall. Nobody greeted, nobody breathed. Mama Bimbo looked up, met her gaze, and for the first time since her return from Okuda Grove, she dropped her spoon. It clanged, loud, sharp, final. The woman stepped closer. Still no words. Her eyes scanned the pot, then the fire, then Mama's hands. She didn't blink. She didn't blink. She didn't blink. Mama's throat moved once, twice, no sound came. The woman reached into her cloth, pulled out something wrapped in palm leaves, placed it on the counter, unfolded it. Inside, crushed snail shells, 7 tiny pebbles, and ash. Mama staggered back, not physically, spiritually. Those items, symbols of revoked favor, signs whispered in Eagle Women gatherings only during rebalance rites. This wasn't a guest. This was a messenger. The crowd didn't move. Even babies stopped crying. 2 men whispered prayers from behind sachets of water. A child vomited beans. Still, the woman didn't eat. She just watched. Until the fire beneath the pot dimmed, not out, dimmed. Mama reached for more oil. It spilled without sound. She tried to serve the next plate. The stew refused to cling. Everything felt dry, as if the food was tired of being sacred. The woman finally spoke. Her voice was neither old nor young, neither loud nor soft. It said, "The pact is aging. The debt must turn." And then she left. No one saw her legs move, just the air shuffle to make way. For 2 nights, Mama didn't cook. She locked the stall. Neighbors heard scraping sounds. Some heard chants. One man claimed her roof caught fire, though no flame was seen. Her gourd, the sacred bathwater from Okuda Grove, began to leak. The bottom softened. The blessing strained. She tried replacements. More pepper, new rice, even deeper insults to customers. It didn't work. One girl tasted beans and coughed blood. Another man passed out for 10 seconds, returned sobbing, claiming he saw his dead mother telling him the stew is watching you. Still, the customers came, but their eyes were cautious, and Mama's hand shook just once, slicing meat. She never forgave herself for that. She returned to the grove alone. No one saw her enter. But at dawn, someone heard a scream. One word, no translation, just power. She emerged at noon, drenched, barefoot, carrying nothing but a silent pot. It refused to bubble until midnight, and when it did, the town trembled. The woman with the red eyes never returned, but her gaze lingered, in spoons, in dreams, in the way Mama stared longer into every pot before stirring. She never said what the pact cost, but her silences told enough. Food still blessed, but Mama no longer smiled after slapping, and she began bathing with cold water again. Not ritual water, regular. Still, the customers swore it tasted stronger, as if the fear added flavor. It happened on a Wednesday, a day like any other. Bowls polished, mouths yawning, bodies queuing before dawn. Children clutched coins like sacred tokens. Women carried empty buckets. Men rehearsed smiles that might earn them extra ponmo. The air was thick. Not with scent, with something colder. As if the morning had forgotten how to bless. Inside the shack, Mama Bimbo stood still. The pot sat there, intact, unchanged, yet refused to boil. The fire danced beneath it, crackled, burned. But the stew did not stir. She poured water, nothing. Added oil. Silence. For the first time since her sacred rebirth, the pot did not obey. Outside, the crowd waited. Half an hour passed, then two. The line twitched. Restlessness crawled between shoulders. A man coughed loud enough to earn a slap. Mama didn't raise her hand. She stared into the pot like it had betrayed her. Then came the smell. Rotten, not food gone bad. Deeper, like history resurfacing. She bent over the pot. The water shimmered, not golden, not sacred. Black, still, thick like secrets. She tried to stir. The ladle snapped in her palm. Gasps echoed outside. One child cried, not from pain, but instinct. The crowd shifted. Faith cracked. That night, she didn't sleep. She lit 7 candles in a circle around her gourd. The water inside had turned muddy, not dirty, but diluted. She poured drops into her palm. It burned. The sacred supply from Okuda Grove was fading. Or worse, resisting. She returned to the market the next day. No food, just presents. She insulted a man for wearing sunglasses in the morning. Slapped a girl who said, "Mama know they cook again?" She needed the fear to stay, needed the belief to breathe. But rumors were rising. Whispers over sachet water. Murky questions from customers who used to kneel. Someone said, maybe her powers day expire. Another? She no go Grove again. No I. A woman added, red-eye woman Don mark her. Each voice chipped at the shrine. Mama prepared her own ritual. Not from a book, from memory. She collected pepper seeds that hadn't touched fire. She ground old bones, kept from fish she served on feast days. She boiled tears from a crying child, mixed, prayed, cooked the stew hissed once, then boiled, slow, but boiled. She served no one, not that day. She ate first, a rare thing, spoon to lips. No tremble, no glow, just food, and hunger. She knew. The pact was thinning. The Eagle women had stopped singing at the burial mound. She hadn't seen a shadow stir in 3 visits. Maybe they'd moved. Maybe they'd scattered. Maybe the debt was done. Customers returned anyway, because the food still worked, just not as fast. One man took 4 bites before luck shifted. Another woman needed extra ponmo before her child stopped coughing. The magic was limping, but present. Mama cooked harder. She stopped bathing, started chanting during prep, carried her pot everywhere, even slept beside it once. One neighbor swore he saw her slap her own reflection in the window. No one asked. No one dared. The food blessed, but the fire cracked. Every week the pot took longer to boil. Every meal needed more insult, more salt, more spirit. Her voice grew hoarse, her hands darker, and in the corner of her stall, beneath the gourd, something grew. Not mold, not rust, a shadow. The wind now respects her, not by choice, by history. It pauses when crossing her stall, slow and deliberate, as if unsure whether to bow or whisper. The town no longer queues early. They arrive deep before dawn now, some setting campfires by her gates, telling stories beneath the moonlight. They speak less now. Reverence has replaced chatter. Children call her Big Mama, not with innocence, but with ritual. They touch her wrappers for luck. Her slaps now draw laughter and tears. Some wear them like marks of blessing. She still cooks alone. The pot has aged with her. Iron chipped along the rim, but the power, unfaded. No one questions her anymore. Not when she gives half a plate to a man in Agbada. Not when she refuses food to the deputy chairman's wife. Even the men in suits, those from city offices, ministries, radio stations, now kneel before asking for takeaway. And she still doesn't answer questions. Her eyes do. Carrying weight heavier than pots. Stories no one reads. One man returned after 7 years. He had once begged to buy her recipe, tried to open a copycat store in the capital. It failed. He lost his voice. He came crawling, barefoot, carrying cola nuts, an apology. She served him, but didn't speak. He screamed into his plate, not from pain, from awe. He said the stew reminded him of the day his mother left, and of the day she returned. Churches still curse her. Pastors preach against her pot. Mosques pray louder when her food reaches funerals. But those same leaders eat there in secret. Some claim her food is sin, yet they need it to sleep. Mama Bimbo never returned to Okuda Grove. She didn't need to. The spirits, if they still watched, had long surrendered her pact to permanence. She no longer bathed with the burial water. Her own sweat had grown sacred. The pot boiled now only when she sang. Soft tunes, off-key, but old. Sometimes no one heard, sometimes everyone wept. The stranger with red eyes? Never seen again. But her message echoes in every silence before Mama stirs. The pact may age, yes, but the flame, if fed, endures. And Mama feeds it well. with solitude, with scorn, with love shaped like iron. Time passed. She aged. Wrinkles bloomed across her knuckles like thunderclouds waiting for rain. Yet she stirred. Day after day, week after week, she fed weddings, buried wars, healed broken hearts with pepper soup, revived dreams with white rice. One afternoon, a child asked, "Mama, you go stop cooking someday?" She stared at the boy, then at the pot, then back at him. "No be me they cook. Now the hunger inside on a spirit they stir itself." The child didn't understand, but he never forgot. Years later, someone wrote on the market wall, "She feeds you, she blesses you, she becomes you." And beneath it, in red chalk, "The cauldron never dies." And so the fire burns, in pots that hiss softly at night, in bellies that remember her stew like lullabies, in towns that whisper her name without speaking it. Big Mama, Mama Bimbo, the cook without equal, the hand that served fate. The town ate her food without knowing what was in it. And so the town kept eating, unaware, unchanged on the outside, but never truly the same inside. Sometimes power doesn't come with thunder. Sometimes it's served on a steaming plate with a side of silence. What do you think really happened in Mama Bimbo's kitchen? Was it a blessing or a curse? Share your thoughts with me in the comment section. I read every one of them. If this story shook you even just a little, don't forget to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, kindly do so now, so you never miss the next tale that chills the bones. Until then, eat wisely and beware the hands that feed you.